What's up guys, and welcome back to another video covering the Pokémon Stars supposed game, etc. You guys know what it's all about by now. So today we are going to be talking about the region for this game, and so what it would be like and stuff like that. So of course, not the region in general, but how the region will change, because we would assume that if Pokémon Stars were a thing, it would still be based in the Alola region, because how else would it work? You know, okay, it would be a completely different game, sure, but we can't even envisage that currently. So we're going to be focusing on Alola, talking about how the region might change. We've seen slight changes in regions in the past. For example, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. Platinum had some extra snow, basically, and a few sort of upgrades to some of the areas, and then we had some larger changes. So between Black, White and Black 2 and White 2, we had extra areas open up in terms of where we could go. Areas were closed off, areas changed, in different sort of circumstances there. So we're actually, we can see some good changes here for Alola. So obviously here is the region. We're going to go island by island and see exactly how, any ideas I can throw up basically. And of course, if you guys have any of your own that I don't mention or haven't thought of or haven't mentioned yet, do feel free to drop them in the comment section below, because I'm always open to hearing some extra ideas. So we're going to jump in and start off with Melee, because of course that's the first island, so why would you not start there? So obviously, this being the starting island, I would see less changes here. I think the majority of changes will be on other islands, etc. Because if you look at Black 2 and White 2, and even Platinum to some extent, the changes were towards the end of the game. So the starting was fairly similar. Black 2 and White 2 is a different village starting, so I can't really. So obviously, if this stays as the starting island, then I would see hardly any changes. But of course, we could even start on a different island, which would be crazy, I think. Thinking about that, I would really like to see that. We'll mention it as we go along a bit later on. So, thinking about it, Melee, as I mentioned, not many changes I wouldn't exactly see, I suppose. I mean, you could say, okay, maybe so. Here we have, of course, this, I don't know what you call it, I can't remember what it's called in game, but the mountain, if you can call it a mountain, volcano, something like that, hill. I would see possibly that getting an update, maybe. Obviously it's full of grass right now. I could see something going in there, or they could leave it how it is there. Of course, the main city is going to stay the same. There's no changes there, and there's really not much extra on the island. The trainer school is probably going to stay where it is. Kukui's lab probably going to stay there. And thinking about that makes me less likely to think that we'd switch islands to start, because of course Kukui is on this island, so unless you base him somewhere else or have him just wandering around, you can't really do it as easily, but it would still be possible. But as mentioned, Melee Island, probably not too many changes. You've still got Tapu Koko's shrine there, everything's the same, so really there's not much you can do, I suppose. It's a fairly small island anyway, so there's not much you can actually be too extravagant on. So if we move on to the second island, which of course is Akala, we can see here it's a much larger island, there's much more to think about and do. So of course, straight away in terms of changes, the volcano at the back possibly seems like you want to maybe you can make it dormant, so it's less active. So in terms of Pokemon changes, less fire Pokemon in the wild, because it's dormant, of course. And you could see maybe some, obviously we have jungles around everywhere, so maybe you don't need more grass type Pokemon, but who knows? And maybe the golf course could open up to us, because that was one of the things a lot of people complained about. We were like, well, why is there a golf course there when you can't actually access it? There's a whole section up there that you can't actually go to, so maybe we could get access to the golf course and have like a mini game up there, or just have it be an extra area where you can go to and battle some golfers, because the golfer class is in the game, we just never battle them really. In terms of the rest of the changes here, it's a pretty packed island, to be fair, so not a huge amount you could do. The Battle Royale will probably stay where it is, so you could still access it. In terms of, I think it's Lana, her area at the top of the waterfalls, you could possibly do that. In terms of the trials, which of course is a separate, or you could say a separate thing altogether, but it's related, of course, to the region, because if you don't have the region, or the region's different, it affects the trials. In terms of those, you could, well, I'm just checking when I was going to plan to talk about them. I'm going to talk about them in a different video, so I shall touch on them briefly now, but of course, in terms of the area changes, yes, okay, if you're going to change an area, you either have to change the trial, remove the trial, or do something similar to that. So of course, Lana's area here with the trial isn't really going to be up for too much change if they want to maintain the trials, but of course, if not, you could put trainers there basically and just have it be an area where you battle trainers rather than a trial area. Same thing with the jungle, same thing with any of the other trial areas there, really goes without saying. But moving down to the lower half of the island, of course we have, was it Diglett's Cave, I believe it's called. You could expand that a bit, maybe have the the Diglets opened up a new area, so you could have a bit of a deeper cave there, and of course we have the shrine, or the temple, or whatever you might want to call it, to Tapu Lele, that's the one. So again, that would stay there, and wouldn't be too many changes there. If we move on to the third island, however, this is the island I would imagine envisage getting the most changes. So of course currently we have a big snowy mountain there. I mentioned just now that the volcano on Akala, possibly I could see being dormant. I could see a volcano here erupting and turning this island into much more of a hostile environment, basically. Of course, one, I guess, detriment to that idea is the fact that the Pokemon League is based right at the top of that mountain, so you would have to it would be an interesting change though. So instead of having all this icy area around the Pokemon League, it turns into a volcanic area, a very monstrous area. It would be a cool change. Whether it's a constructive change or not, I don't know. But in terms of the other changes in the area, most of it would stay the same. I would say, again, in terms of the gravity of the change, so whether it's small changes like Platinum where you just had a bit of extra snow, change areas getting updated slightly, or whether it's Black 2 and White 2 where you have new areas and such, really links into what we spoke about last episode, which was the premise, like what is the game going to be? Is it going to be a port? Is it going to be an update? Is it going to be a completely new game? Of course, that last instance means that new areas are slightly more likely. But moving back here, of course, yes, the two towns per town possibly getting repopulated by people now that Team Skull get kicked out, or maybe Team Skull stay there and turn into a city for Team Skull. It's not like a rundown city anymore, but they live there. And of course, we'll talk about Team Skull in another video in the future to talk about what might come of them. But yes, obviously the observatory would stay there. The other towns probably stay there. The only difference really being the fact that, going down to the base of the island here, of course you have this large open water area. Whether they would add something on these islands here, it's up to them, of course. It's not my idea. But move down, rundown supermarket, abandoned supermarket, probably going to stay there. So there's a ghost area, unless of course they switch something else up. But yes, the main idea for this island will be having an erupting volcano. So possibly change the Pokemon League from a very snowy theme to a very I don't know what exactly you would call it, a very disastrous theme. So you'd have lava. It obviously means that the road, or the path up from the base of the mountain to the top, maybe the elevators got destroyed, so you actually have to go and do something there, rather than just taking a couple of elevators and then going through some caves and bam, you get the Pokemon League. We can have a proper victory road that's filled with fire types and rock types, for example, and that would be pretty cool in my opinion. That's just me though. Of course, any ideas, let me know down below. Then look at the last island. Of course, this one, I could see a few changes here. Possibly a town being put on the island. Yes, we have the battle tree. Yes, you have the floating town, with all the ships and whatnot. I could see something else being put somewhere. I don't exactly know where, because again, the island's not open as such. But I could see something, maybe I can't remember her name. It's been ages since I actually played the game. But the captain of the island, it's not trial captain, is it? Kahuna of the island where she lives, that we meet in the game and such. Maybe that expands slightly. But apart from that, apart from adding an extra town to this island, there's not a huge amount you could do. Of course, again, with the shrine to Tapu Fini there. How this would relate to the story, of course, again, this links into the premise of the game, whether it's a remake or a port, because we might end up going to the Temple of the Sun / Temple of the Moon again, or we could just not go there at all, and it could be post-game. So this island could be entirely post-game if the F1s are bulked up enough. In terms of the battle tree, I'd imagine that would stay, because that's like the battle. I've got my quotation marks up here. The battle house, I can't remember what it's called. Battle Chateau, that's the one of this region. So I imagine it would stay, because they get rid of it in this case. So I imagine that would be the same. And that's really, without knowing what sort of game it's going to be, you can't dive too much into it. Most of the changes will, for at least a port or a remake or an update, will be slight modifications to towns and to the little mechanics of the games, and not overhauls. So there's not many huge region changes, but we do have a few more things to look at, and those are the two individual islands. The first one being Aether Foundation and their artificial island. Now, we'll talk more about this in a future video where we discuss the Aether Foundation and what role they might play in this sort of game. But I imagine that the artificial island would stay there. How it would function in terms of the game, it really depends on how the Aether Foundation is used in the game. Maybe you visit it and you get the chance to catch some rare Pokemon, like a post-game thing. You can get Pokemon from other regions there because there's a habitat, you know, or at least see them register in your Pokedex or something like that. And maybe again the plot takes you here at some point, either for help or maybe they turn out to be bad again. Who knows? The other island we need to look at is of course Pelago. It's right in the top right, of course. It's only really shown by the little beanstalk, and I thought I'd mention it here because it's a mechanic more than an area, but I feel like it would return. I quite like it, I suppose. It's nothing amazing, but it's alright. It's a new thing, so I would say it returning in some form of sequel update, etc. for Pokemon Stars. Maybe a few adjustments to exactly the way it works, but generally I think it's a solid mechanic, so I think that would return. Maybe an extra island there to update and stuff like that, to do something. I don't know exactly what, but maybe they could do that. Depends again on the premise of the game. But that's really it for this video. It's a very sort of a jumbled video because again we can't really look too much into region speculation without knowing exactly what the game will be like, whether it's a port, remake, sequel, etc. So we'll just give you a general overview of that. Of course, as always, let me know what you think down below because it's probably more accurate what I think, so be sure to do that. But this is going to be it for me for today, so I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.